Building choppers.
Alright guys, welcome back to another episode of Two Dudes Building Choppers.
Two dudes trying to
Chopper
build trappers.
Steve, Shed Billy. Our parts came in about a week ago. Steve and I ordered from TC Brothers the fake oil tanks to hide our electronics in, battery boxes, and fender mounts.
Yeah, so I ordered that and this, and then he copied me.
Yeah, whatever.
And he bought the same thing.
So tonight's plan is, now that we finally got both bikes running, we're going to go ahead and pull the motors out. And we're going to start cleaning up the welds and the things we don't need. I'm going to be removing the old bracket that used to hold the engine, the top engine mount. I might make another bracket for the top, but I've been watching a lot of other videos and a lot of guys aren't even bothering with it. So I haven't made a decision on that yet. But I'm also doing the single 650 Honda coil that I can hide back here. I'm going to be cutting all of this out. I'm trying to get this as clean as possible. I want very clean lines and not all this bulky stuff. So I'm going to be cutting all this out tonight. I'm probably going to mount the tank the old-fashioned way. It came with mounting brackets. I did really like this idea, but I couldn't find a good place to put the tank. So tonight, Steve and I are going to pull the motors out, and we're going to start cutting everything out. And then our next night, we're going to go ahead and start tack welding all of our pieces together and our mounting bolts together, getting everything ready to start getting closer to getting ready for paint. And then once we have everything tacked and everything mounted the way we want it, we're going to start mudding the bikes down, getting them all our welds smoothed out, and then do a thin coat of mud on them and sand them down before we get ready for paint. I am going to go with the Axe tank. I'm not going to go with the tank that I got. I really like the clean and simple look, so I'm trying to keep everything small. So instead of putting that big tank that I had on originally, I'm going to go with the small, looks like an alien head Axe tank. So we're going to pull the motors out right now and get right to it. All right, so this is what I'm looking to cut out to get rid of some of this bulkiness. I plan on cutting this out completely and then using a polishing wheel and smoothing this out. I'm going to cut all of this out completely, and I may put some neat design back in here for strength. But again, I've been looking at a lot of other custom builds, and a lot of guys are just getting rid of all this together. I'm sure it would help in an accident, but I don't plan on getting in an accident. I guess that's not my choice. I also am going to get rid of this here. Obviously, I need this here, and these are the exhaust mount brackets. And most likely, I'm not going to go with like the Big Mama exhaust or anything like that. I like the stock look. I just like when it comes down and up. So I'm probably still going to need these brackets. So I'm not going to cut these off. I'm going to leave these. These I need to keep, obviously, getting rid of the horn. And then what I want to do is go back and polish all these welds off with the polishing wheel. Same here, clean all these up, clean these up here, clean everything, and then you can see how they're a little rough when you look up close to them. And this is where I'm going to take the body filler and then body fill my entire frame and then lightly sand it and go from there. So it looks like the newer metal here. I'm not sure what Steve's going to do to his, but he'll let us know here in a second. But that's my plan. What about you, Steve? What are you cutting out?
I think I'm gonna do basically the same. I'm gonna cut this out like you are.
Yeah, I definitely don't want that.
Gusset. I'm either gonna leave it plain, or I'm gonna buy the gusset from TC Brothers. They sell
that tiny one.
A piece that goes.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I guess once we cut it, we'll see how see if there's any flex in the frame. If there's any flex in the frame, then yeah, we're not going to do that. But
I missed what you were saying. Or did you say you were going to cut?
I'm definitely cutting that out. I hate that.
Well, then, and you're not going to mount.
So I've seen people take aluminum. They've been making these little. I've got a picture of it. I'll share it right here. Boop. But people are making these awesome little engine brackets out of aluminum metal. I'm going to do the same thing. So I still want a bracket up top, but I'm going to get rid of that whole bar.
Well, I think the way this Sportster gas tank sits on here, it comes down.
Yours covered it.
Flush with this, so I don't have to worry about cutting that out.
Yeah, take a look. Pull your tank. Yeah, because mine's going to sit above it. Let's see what yours looks like. Because if that's the case, then yeah, there's no sense in doing that.
I mean, you can still see it a little bit down here.
That's up to you. What do you think? If anything, cut the big bracket off and maybe just the rod, leave the rod. You know, this
Yeah.
part here, since you're gonna do the single coil.
Yeah, I'll probably cut the coil bracket off.
And then, cause you can hide the new coil up here. It's small. The single 650 coil. So you don't see it.
I'll cut this old stock coil bracket off.
And then
gonna
just
leave
leave-
this bar for stability. I want to keep that in.
Okay. All right.
Since we're taking this out, we might leave it out. I'm gonna at least keep this.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I'll see how yours looks. I'll make a decision. But let's get to it. All right, as you can see, I've got it all cleaned up. I went ahead after I used the grinder and took all the tabs off and took the what do they call those things? Grommets, gussets. I took the gussets out. Sorry, it took me a second to figure that out. I went ahead and used a Diablo grinding and polishing flap disc, and it goes ahead and takes all the big chunks out that are hard to get with the grinder wheel if you don't want to cut too far into the metal. I'm still going to have to mud the frame because it works really well, but it's not, you know, perfectly even. It's still a little rough. I'm going to go through it one more time once everything's welded, but it does look good. I went ahead and cleaned this up, but Steve was right. I decided to leave this bar since we took the gusset out. You know, I want to show the bike, but more importantly, this is something I want to ride. And if we take the gusset out and this center support, even if I was to make a bracket, we're really weakening the front end. And so he was right. So I just went ahead and cleaned this up, took everything off of it. It looks a lot nicer now. Took the gusset out, and I'm going to leave that be. And I took the old mounting tab for part of the electrical system off the back here. So my plan now is I've got to figure out my fake oil tank, which I'm hiding all my electronics in. Now my plan is, I got this from TC Brothers, and I bought the kit. It was the battery box and because they give you a discount, and the fake oil tank in one. It opens on both sides, which is pretty neat. It's really hard to open, so I'm not sure if you have to weld or put weld tabs on it. I think once you close it up tight, look, I couldn't even get it off there. I think you're gonna be good to go. It came with a bunch of mounting tabs, and my plan is to go ahead and weld this at the top of here, which I'm going to do here in a minute, and then just put 2 bolt holes so it'll hold like this here, and that should sit right here. Now, one of the things that I am going to do is I'm going to drill holes in the bottom of this. I know this looks pretty much watertight, but my concern is the TC Brothers regulator rectifier has the fins on it, and those fins are designed for airflow, and I'm assuming that's designed to keep it cool. Now, I don't know if that's because it overheats because it's near the motor, which still, you know, this metal, the motor, this would get hot. So I'm going to drill air holes into the tank. And I think it'll look really cool. on all sides, and then 3 on the bottom, so if it does get water in it, it'll drain out. These electrical systems can get wet, so I'm not worried about that, but I do want fresh air getting in and fresh air getting out. It's the only thing I don't like about this is it totally encases it, and I think that's gonna get too hot. Even if it doesn't, it'll be a cool design element. The other thing I'm gonna do is, again, it has more mounting tabs. I'm gonna mount the battery box down in here. And I think that's gonna look good with that tank here. So I'll have the battery box mounted and then the tank mounted. Now I'm gonna mount this, and I'm not gonna have it so it's bolt on. I'm gonna go ahead and fully weld this down and just paint it with the frame. But I am gonna take this off so I can paint this separately, because my plan is to do a light gold, a solid gold color on the frame and on the battery box. And then I plan on doing a darker gold with some black details on the tank, the fake gold tank, and then the fender. To save money, I didn't buy a fender because they're like $100-something. I found an old Sportster's fender, and I'm gonna try to cut it out and get it to work and see if I can't make this look nice. But what I did do is I bought the TC Brothers fender kit, and it pretty much mounts like this here, and then you weld it onto the back part of the bike. Once you figure out where you need that, then you cut off the access. So that's my plan tonight, and then the top of the fender is going to be held by my sissy bar here. So I still need to figure out how I'm going to lay all this out, but I also want to paint this gold as well. So now that I've got this cleaned up, the next step I want to take before I can get into paint is to start getting all these things mounted. And then I still need to figure out my brake and my pedal control. Man, I've been on Facebook Marketplace, I've been on XS650 forums, and I'm not a big fan of any mid controls that people are using, because they're putting bolts in between in the engine case, which I don't think is strong enough. They're creating mounting tabs, and then they're extending the brakes out real far. I think I'm just gonna go with the forward control system from Mike's XS. It's under 200 bucks. It looks good, and I put a seat on here and it felt pretty good as well. So I think that's what I'm gonna do there. So that's my plan. I think the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start mounting my tabs for the fake oil tank and for the battery box, and we'll go from there. See ya. All right, so right now, I wanna get some good marks. So, some good measurements. I gotta have enough room for my fender, but I would like it to be pretty much even inside there. Since it sits at an angle like that, it's probably gonna be best that it comes down some. I would love it to be more up there so I have more seat support, but I really feel like it's gonna be closer to here. And that does look good. So, well, that went to hell quickly. So, let's do roughly. Let's see if we do it 2 inches. If we were to do that, 2 inches at the top, and it sits at an angle to be tighter. It sure is pretty. If I was to put it at the top, oh, I got more seat support. Yeah, I think that's gonna look. I don't want to be too close to the motor. I like some decent spacing inside there, so I think it'll look good. So yeah, that's our mark. That's our mark. I'll make sure it's even. And then obviously I gotta take a little bit off of this, because I don't want it to sit flat. To me that would be too high. I just want to take a little bit off, maybe at an angle on each one. so it sits in there nicely. So let's do that. I'm going to take an angle off of each side. Let's see how that sits in there. Go from there. So I'm just using the polishing wheel since I'm just trying to put an angle on it so it sits in more. It's actually working pretty good. Man, you would have think I'd done this before. Oh, I'm gonna step that up. That's what I get for showing off. Look at that, guys. Look at that. I'm gonna take a little bit more off, but right now, that's the same height as that. Damn, that came out good. That came out really good. I might not even need to take any more off, actually. It's just, I don't have my level on me. I need to go get my level. But damn, look at that. Wow, it's almost perfect. All right. So the other thing is I just got these at local hardware store. They were in the $5 bin. But magnets, when it comes to welding, are gonna be your best friends. You need magnets. Keep everything together. All right. Take some final measurements. It's, well, shit. Sorry, don't cuss. There we go. There we go. All right. So. Man. Corner. Corner. Woo! There you go. Let's weld this bad boy. All right, let's get to it. All right, need a little bit more practice. Oh, there we go. Ah, son of a bitch. Oh, did it again, sorry. Oh, I need my things. Yeah, turn it off. There we go. looks like poopy, but we'll keep. I get better as I keep going. I promise. All right, one tab down. I'm no professional, but it don't look bad. All right, so now we are making some good progress. So I got my battery box done, got my tabs welded for my fake oil tank, and I got it close enough to where I can hide the wires in the frame. So that's gonna look sharp. Now I got to figure out this fender. I can't mount that tab on the back side of this frame until I get this exactly lined up where I want. I got to cut all this crazy stuff off and mount it. Get my sissy bar because I got to use that as well. So I'm going to work on that right now and see how this comes out. So far, it's looking good. All right, as you can see, I got the bike all mudded up. As you can tell, I've got a really bad cold right now. Actually, it's a respiratory infection. It's not COVID. It's something that's been going around where I live. And I've had it for the last couple of days. And I've been in bed, but I decided last night I wanted to come out and work. I didn't videotape it just because I wasn't feeling good. And I just wanted to get it mudded and get the brake pivot installed. So that way I could, when I started feeling better, could come out and sand and get it ready for prime. I'm excited to get this bike into prime because I really want to get into paint. So I'm going to work on that tonight. I'm going to go ahead and do the TC Brothers forward controls. And I'm going to show you what I did there. And I'm going to show you what I mounted. It's a pretty awesome system. I decided to do that instead of attaching foot pegs. A lot of guys are attaching the foot pegs for the brakes, you know, for where your foot rests to push down on the brake, into the engine cases themselves, along with the footrest for the clutch. And I don't like that because it doesn't screw in very far. And I just feel like that's an easy way to crack that case. Some guys are mounting brackets, but since I'm going with this lean, 16-inch in the back, 21 on the front, I got the 4-over on the front as well. I like the way that feels with my feet up here, so I'm going to be doing the forward controls. But one of the things when you order the forward control system, you got to have the brake pivot. When you cut out on your bike, when you cut out the frame, you cut out the brake pivot and you cut out the rear passenger mounts and all that. Well, you need that pivot when you hit that brake. Okay, when you push that foot pedal down, it's going to push back, but then something needs to attach to that it pulls that brake forward, and that's what this pivot does. So when you go ahead and you push that brake back. When you push that down, so like I said, I'm not feeling good, so it's hard for me to talk. What will happen is this pushes forward, and in return, it's going to pull this forward. So this pushes back, and in return, on this side, it pushes forward and pulls that brake. And it comes with this mount here and a spring kit, so it's pretty awesome. I'll do a close-up in it in a second. And I also welded my fender mount bracket. And the fender mount bracket, I gave myself some room because you can always add spacers. Better safe than sorry, especially if I ever change the tire size. I have the ability to move that back and forth. So I kept it a little bit farther back, and that way I can move my fender back and forth. So let me give you a close-up of what I'm doing and how I went ahead and figured the placement for that. It's important not to install your battery box until you do this brake pivot because that can run into it. You see how far this sticks. So you don't want that to run into that. So let me show you how a close-up of how all this works. I just went ahead and temporarily put it on real quick so you guys can see what I'm doing here. But what you're going to do is you're going to just temporarily install this bracket. What you want is that brake needs to sit up. This pedal needs to sit up so it pushes down. So when you're determining that length, you want to make sure this is sitting up and that this sits flush like this here. Now these rods adjust so you have a little bit of wiggle room. But that'll help you determine, and then, it pushes down. That's what you want it to do there. But you want it to sit flush when that sits up. All right? And that'll help you determine where that's going to be. If you want, I can give you a measurement. I have my tape measure in here, which I do. So what I did is from that factory installed bar from TC Brothers, it was from the inside of that, it's about 3 inches. You guys can see that there. So from the inside of this bar to there is 3 inches if you want to just go off of what I did. Hopefully all these bars are the same size. So that's where you're gonna weld this, and then you're gonna come off another, let's see what that measurement is. Let me take this out of the way. That measurement is 1 3/4 inches is what I did there. There's no directions with it, so if you want to go off of how I did it, awesome. If not, you know, I don't blame you. And then this here, you just want that centered because obviously that has to be centered. Your tire has to be centered, so that's pretty easy. All right, that's it. Let's get sanded. I'm gonna start off with an electric sander first because I got a lot of heavy ends to take off, but I'm gonna do like a 150 grit. I don't want to overdo it because I don't want to scratch everything. So I'm gonna start with a 150 and see if I can't get the thick stuff off first, and then hand sand it. And the reason why I muttered it is when you use that polishing wheel, it puts grooves in the metal. I mean, it does an awesome job cleaning up the welds, but it puts grooves and it makes the frame a little uneven. And if I was just painting the frame black, probably wouldn't have worried about it. But since I'm doing a candy color on it, it's going to show. So I'm trying to make it as clean as possible. Ooh, 150 ended up being the right choice. Yeah. I'm going to have to mud it again because I didn't mud everything. I just mudded the stuff that I saw. Like I said, I wasn't feeling good and still not feeling right there. But I'm excited to see this come together, so I came out anyway. I'm tired of sitting in the house and watching Netflix. I think I pretty much watched everything they've ever made, so had to do something else. Well, I also like watching drag racing videos on YouTube. I'm pretty sure I watched all of those as well. I went ahead and did all the factory welds from Yamaha. They're real bulky and real chunky. So I wanted to take them down. And they mud them so you don't really see that much of them. Again, I'm probably just being anal, but since I did everything on this bike, why stop there? Now, I'm not a professional painter, so I'm going to go with the old, if you can feel it, you're going to see it method. Now, I got, obviously, at that bike show a couple weeks ago, I got this fender and I got that gas tank. But, man, they've been painted like a million times. So I'm going to sand them down, prime them, then putty them again once I can see everything. I'm not going to putty it now just because I want to see what it looks like after primer goes on it. So same with the bike, I got it all sanded down, but I still need to mud it again, but I'm gonna prime it first, then do it. Still feeling like shit, but just gonna get it done. Now, I'm just going to use a Duplicolor. I don't know if you can even see that. Is the light coming in good? Hey. Just a spray can primer for now. There's no sense in wasting the money on using the air gun and all that, just because I'm still going to mud it. Still gonna sand it, and I just want to get a coat on to see how everything's looking. I may do the frame in a gray or a black because I do want the frame a little bit darker than the body, and I'm doing the whole thing in, I think, Aztec gold. It's a darker gold, but I want the tank and the fenders to be a little bit brighter, so I might prime everything in white, but the frame in a gray or a black. It's still on the side. I don't even know how it's going to look yet. So I also might just flake the tank and flake the fender, and then do the gold, and then do the frame solid. And I think that might look really good too. So yeah, we'll see how it comes out. Now, you're wondering why I'm not priming underneath the fender, because I don't want to do the fender, I don't want to paint underneath of it the gold, especially where I live and the dirt roads and stuff like that. I'm going to be going with actually just undercoating. I might still spray it, but I'm going to undercoat underneath the fender and underneath the tank instead of just spraying it gold, because it's just going to get a mess anyway. But you can see, this is the whole reason you got to do this. See all that? You don't see that when you're sanding it. You get your first coat of primer on it and it looks like crap. But that's why you do that, and that's why I don't want to waste good money on primer. Man, look how good that thing's coming out. I'm digging it. All right, guys, guess I'll get in front of here. I'm all done. Man, I'm real happy with how the whole thing came out. Now that it's in primer, I can definitely see all the imperfections in the tank and the frame and the fender. And I'm going to go through and do a light skim coat of mud on the entire frame, the fender, the tank. Reason being is since I'm doing a House of Colors Aztec gold color, and I'm flaking the tank and the fender, man, any imperfection you're going to see. And I'm really going for that whole 70s vibe. So I still got a lot of mud to do, a lot of paint, a lot of sanding to do, but the whole vision is coming together, which I really dig. I'm still not sold on the seat yet, but I definitely want, and if you guys have any other options, let me know. My wife and I ride a lot together, so I've got to have a position for her to sit on this bike. So no single seat for me. And her and I do a lot together, so I don't want the bike to where it's just for me. So got a lot to do, but the next video should be all the sanding, the paint work, and then the video after that should be putting it back together. The video after that should be riding. Man, yeah, we'll see about that. But that's it for tonight. I still got to do a couple things on Chopper Steve's bike, and but since I've been sick, I didn't want him over here. I didn't want him to get sick, so I got to get his together, and then he's got to get in the same place that I'm at. So we will see you in a couple weeks.